The most expensive thing you will ever buy isn't a house, a car, or a degree. It's a single decade of doing nothing. Most people believe wealth is built by earning more. The truth, the one that banks and financial institutions quietly understand but rarely advertise, is that wealth is built by doing one boring thing consistently for an almost uncomfortable length of time. $500 a month. 25 years. What happens next is not motivation, it's mathematics. And mathematics doesn't care about your feelings. By the time this video ends, you will understand exactly what happens year by year when someone invests $500 every single month for 25 years. Not in vague terms, not in inspiration, in real numbers, real years, and real psychological milestones that nobody talks about. You will see why year 3 feels like failure, why year 8 is the first time the math starts to feel real, why year 14 is when most people quietly accelerate, and why those who don't can't explain later why they stopped. You will also understand something that financial advisors almost never say out loud. The number at the end isn't the point. The point is what happens to the person who gets there. We assume an average annual return of 7%, the historical long-term average of a broad market index fund, adjusted for inflation. No tricks, no lottery, no crypto miracles. Just time, doing what time does when you let it work. Year 1. You have invested $6,000. Your account shows approximately $6,430. The return? $430. You could have earned that working 2 extra shifts, maybe 3. The math does not impress anyone at this stage, including you. Year 2, $12,000 contributed. Account value, roughly $13,300. Year 3, $18,000 in. Account value, just over $20,800. $2,800 in gain over 3 years of discipline. This is where most people quietly stop. Not dramatically. They don't announce it. They just slow down, miss a month, then 2. Tell themselves they'll catch up. Here is what they don't understand. These early years are not about the money. They are about building the habit that will be worth more than any salary you'll ever earn. The first 3 years are the price of admission. Everyone pays them. Almost nobody enjoys them. The people who stay, they're not more disciplined. They simply understand what they're actually buying. They're buying the right to participate in what happens next. Year 4, $24,000 contributed. Account value, approximately $29,400. Something has shifted, but you can't feel it yet. The machine has started. You just can't hear it running. Year 5, $30,000 in. Your account, $38,900. For the first time, the gap between what you put in and what you have is nearly $9,000. That gap, that invisible distance, has a name. It's called compounding, and it has just started breathing. Year 6, $49,300. Year 7, $60,100. You have now contributed $42,000. You have $60,000. $18,000 appeared as if from nothing, but it didn't come from nothing. It came from the earlier years, the years that felt worthless. Those early deposits have been quietly earning, re-earning, and compounding on their own earnings. Most people cannot see this because it looks like a small number. They compare it to what they could have spent that money on: a car, a vacation, experiences. They're not wrong to compare. They're wrong about which side of the comparison to stand on. Year 8. You have contributed $48,000. Your account holds $73,500. $25,000 that you never earned, never worked for, never traded time to receive. This is the first psychological threshold. For the first time, the money your money is making starts to feel like a real number. Not a rounding error, not a bonus, but a presence. Year 9, 87,800. Year 10, 103,200. You have crossed 6 figures. You put in 60,000. The market gave you 43,000 on top of that. This is the moment that changes behavior. Not the number, the realization behind the number. You understand, perhaps for the first time in a way that is physical rather than intellectual, that you have a second income, one that requires nothing from you. No alarm, no commute, no performance review. The compound machine is now loud enough to hear. And here's the thing about year 10 that almost no financial content will tell you. This is also the year when people start making mistakes, because for the first time, the account feels large enough to use. Between year 10 and year 13, a specific type of failure occurs. It's not the failure of quitting entirely. It's subtler, more expensive. People withdraw. Not everything, just some. For a car upgrade, for a kitchen renovation, for something that feels earned after a decade of discipline. And it is earned. That's what makes this so psychologically complex. Withdrawing $20,000 from your account in year 11 doesn't just remove $20,000. It removes every dollar that $20,000 would have become in the 14 years remaining. At 7% annual return, $20,000 becomes approximately $62,000 over 14 years. You didn't spend $20,000. You spent $62,000. You just paid for it in future tense. Year 11, $119,600. Year 12, $137,600. Year 13, $157,300. The machine is accelerating. The question is whether you're still in the car. Year 14, $178,900. You have contributed $84,000 total. The market has added $94,900 on top of that. For the first time in this journey, the money working for you exceeds the money you put in. You are no longer the primary contributor to your own wealth. Time is. This is the inflection point that every compound interest chart shows, the curve bending sharply upward. But charts don't show what it feels like. It feels like the ground tilting under you, like something shifted in the rules. Year 15, $202,400. Year 16, $228,000. Year 17, $255,900. You are adding roughly $25,000 to $27,000 per year now, without contributing a single additional dollar beyond your monthly $500. The machine is running faster than you are feeding it. And yet, most people at this stage still don't fully believe it. They check the account, they see the number, and some part of them waits for it to be corrected, for someone to call and say there was a mistake. There is no mistake. This is what compound interest actually looks like when you don't interrupt it. Year 18, $286,700. You've contributed $108,000 over 18 years. The investment has generated $178,700 on top of that. Something happens at this stage that is almost never discussed in financial media. The person who has been doing this for 18 years is not the same person who started. Not philosophically, practically. They make different decisions. They negotiate differently. They quit things differently. They don't panic during market downturns because they've watched the market recover 3 or 4 times now, and they have data, personal, lived data, that most people only have theory about. Year 19, $320,800. Year 20, $358,100. At year 20, you have contributed $120,000. You have $358,000, $238,000 of net gain. But here is the part that matters more than the number. At this point, the monthly return on your investment, just from growth, is approximately $2,090 per month. You are now earning more from your investment each month than you are contributing to it. The river is flowing faster than you can pour into it. Year 22, $399,900. Year 23, $444,800. Year 24, $493,900. You are approaching $500,000. You have contributed $144,000. The remaining $349,900 were created by compounding, by interest earning interest, by time doing the only thing time knows how to do when money is placed inside it correctly. At this stage, the account adds approximately $32,000 per year from growth alone. That's $2,660 per month, generated automatically without your effort. Compare that to where you started, $430 in year one. The same mechanism, the same percentage, the same rules. The only variable that changed was time. And here is the question that should be sitting in your chest right now. What would your life look like if that money had started compounding 10 years earlier? Year 25. Total contributed $150,000. Account value $547,967. $397,967. Created by compound interest, by time, by the decision to not stop. You put in $1. The market returned $2.65 on top of that. Not from risk, not from speculation, from index investing, patience, and 25 years of doing a boring thing consistently. But here is what makes this number almost meaningless on its own. At a standard 4% withdrawal rate, the rate financial planners use to sustain a portfolio indefinitely, this account generates $21,918 per year, every year, without touching the principal. That is $1,826 per month. Passive, permanent, automatic. $500 a month became $1,826 a month forever. Now we need to talk about the version of this story that most people are actually living. Suppose you start the same plan, $500 a month, 7% return, but you begin 10 years later, at 35 instead of 25, at 45 instead of 35. You invest for 15 years instead of 25. Total contributed $90,000. Final account value $158,449. The 10-year delay cost you $389,518. You didn't lose that money. You never had the chance to earn it. The years that would have built it simply weren't there. This is the true price of waiting. Not the money you spent, the money that time would have made but couldn't, because time was already gone. And this is where the video stops being about investing and starts being about something else entirely. Because every year you wait is not neutral. It is actively expensive. The cost just arrives later when it's too large to ignore and too late to fix. Here is the thing about $547,000 that nobody says. It is not a retirement fund. It is not a safety net. It is not even wealth in the traditional sense. It is time, purchased in advance. The person who reaches year 25 with this account has done something that most people in modern economies cannot do. They have separated their survival from their labor. They can work because they want to, not because they must. They can take a risk on a business idea without the terror of total failure. They can leave a job that is destroying them without calculating whether they can afford to eat next month. They can say no. freely, without consequence. The money doesn't buy objects. It buys the ability to make decisions from a position of strength rather than desperation. And this is the thing that makes wealth truly different from income. Income gives you things. Wealth gives you choices. $500 a month, sustained for 25 years, doesn't make you rich in the way movies describe rich. It makes you free in a way that most people, even high earners, never actually experience. The doctors and lawyers who earn $200,000 a year and spend $210,000, they have income. They do not have freedom. The person with $547,000 in an index fund, generating passive income every month, they have something those high earners would pay almost anything for.
They have options, and options, not money, are the actual currency of a good life. There is a version of you, 25 years from now, who has this account, and there is a version that doesn't. Both versions worked, both made money, both lived their lives. The difference between them is not intelligence. It is not income level. The math works on $60,000 a year, and it works on $600,000. It is not luck. The difference is a decision, made once, maintained.
The clock that started this video, the one measuring the cost of waiting, has been running since before you were born. You cannot stop it. You cannot rewind it. But starting today, you can decide which side of the compounding curve you're on. The machine doesn't care about your past. It doesn't care about mistakes you made last year, money you spent 5 years ago, or the decade you spent not starting. It starts from today, and it compounds forward. $500 a month, 7%, 25 years. You already know what happens. The only question remaining, the one this video was always actually asking, is whether you will let it happen to you.